Live for your home. That's what the father always told our protagonist. The meaning of that is that he didn't want him to desire anything and always be a shadow of his older brother. Our hero falls to the ground, and the soldiers around say they never imagined that it was possible for one person against so many knights. A long-haired guy says it's expected from the brother of that person. Cheyenne leaks. The guy in front of him is Boris, who gives a twisted smile while Shirin asks who sent him. With daggers in hand, he wants to know if it was the Emperor. Seeing him activate the power, Boris says that mist is disgusting and he's an assassin from the mist group. Because of this, he will be eliminated for affiliating with the heretics. Shin wishes him good luck to try to get out of here alive, but Boris tells him that he has already placed a barrier of 9 stars in this place. The protagonist knows he has to get out of there urgently and find out who caused the incident with his brother, telling Boris that he will break any barrier he has raised when suddenly someone says, "Enough can scan." Cheyenne is startled and doesn't know what to say, remembering his father's words. Live for your home and your brother. Eshel is the house itself. The success of the house depends on the success of Eshel. Cheyenne can't believe it. The guy behind it all turns out to be his brother after all. He falls to his knees as Eshel says he must be wondering why he's there. The brother approaches, and Cheyenne asks what that means. Eshel says he has done his job very well so far, but for this house and for his own brother, he will release him from sins. Cheyenne can't understand what he did wrong. Looking at his miss, Eshel says that is disgusting, and long ago he was no longer human. He shouts at him saying he has been deceiving everyone. Cheyenne thinks about those words and loses his mind. What he's saying doesn't make sense. The difficulties with the Empire's throne, the subjugation of the Demon King's army, the continent unification war. He helped his brother win all of that and conquer everything he has. He punches the ground saying that the life he received he dedicated to this person. But now the ones that throw him away after he has come so far when he worked like a dog for 20 years. Cheyenne says that even if his body breaks, he will give everything he has at this moment since he can kill him. The soldiers are incredulous at the mana he still has. Transformed, Cheyenne says his brother is shameful being the only hero and trying to kill a family member. Asho looks angrily, and Cheyenne goes for it. He's easily defending himself while Cheyenne says he only needs one attack. He sees an opportunity and goes for the blow but hits against a barrier. The fight is not one-on-one, and Boris is protecting Eshel, who takes advantage of this to strike a blow of Sion's belly. With the sword in his belly, he says he thought about letting him go easily, but he really showed the dark side in the end. It really is a relief that he never trusted him for a second. He pulls out the sword, kicks Cheyenne, and leaves with the group. Fallen, Cheyenne thinks it's a ridiculous end. It makes no sense to die like this. From one moment to the next, he attacks Eshel again, tells him to die, and puts the dagger to his neck. But an explosion of light sweeps through his body. A voice calls for a young master, and a boy wakes up sweaty in bed. The maid asks how long he's going to sleep, and Shannon asks if it's Emily. Looking at her, he thinks it's been 20 years since they met, but she looks the same as the day he met her. He recognizes the room as the one he lived in when he was younger, and it hits him that he has returned to the time when he was a child. Emily tells him to stop messing up the bed and go to training. And Shai wonders what training she's talking about. Saying that he's back in the Vert family Dutch. He's sure it's the past. Maybe they are memories, but he remembers perfectly. This was on March 1st, 27 years ago, a year before he entered the academy. At the beginning of each month, there was an open training fight for the public. It was an important event even for his father. His opponent was a boy named Krantz Vert, a brother who was also born from another mother, but was the same age as him. His mother, Marguerite, was the official wife of the Duke. Because of this, her son received much more attention. Shin, being the son of an illegitimate wife, was humiliated that day, and that's when his father told him to do nothing and give up. Emily asks why he doesn't give up. While Cheyenne now says he's just going to win quickly, but he hesitates when he realizes that a simple thin sword is extremely heavy for this body. Now he is sure it's not a dream or a memory, but he hadn't heard of magic like this and wonders if he really went back in time. Cran says it's incredible that he didn't run away. And when Cheyenne looks at his father, he tells him to start. The brother goes up asking where he's looking and clearly he's confident it's going to be easy. But Cheyenne wonders why he's so slow. A step to the side and the brother cuts the wind. Krantz says he's a coward and comes to give another attack, but he takes a blow to the hand that makes him drop the sword. A kick to the shin and he rides in pain falling to the ground crying. The mother calls for the boy while the father seems interested. staying him on the ground. Cheyenne knows that if he puts the blade to his neck, it's over. But he remembers that in the past this guy tormented him, and the bullying continued even at the academy. So now he has to end him so that he never thinks of doing something like that again. In this second life given to him, he will live for himself. The fight ended with CR being completely defeated. The Duke postponed the plans because he wanted to talk to Can, even put one of the knights who worked for him to keep an eye on him. In the corridor, he sees Krant's mother and is sure she's back from the infirmary. With a mischievous smile, Cheyenne asks if her son's okay, Duchess. She says he is shameless to say that after what he did to his brother. Shane ignores her, saying it's normal for this to happen in training. The Duchess says that's why you don't talk to illegitimate children. Filthy mother, filthy child, and you should have stayed picking up trash from the streets. Cheyenne looks back, thinking she crossed the line and wondering if he should kill her. But he smiles, remembering that he knows how to make her suffer gradually, and tells her he will enter the same academy as CR, and she asks what he means by that. He wants to know if she doesn't care about her son and his graduation. She frowns and goes to slap him, asking how he dares to say something like that. But the guard protects Cheyenne and apologizes to her. But the Duke calls the boy so they can't linger there. He stares at the Duchess and tells her they are leaving. She remains with a closed face but doesn't have much to say. And Cheyenne did this because he knows the Duke's order is absolute. In the night there was order to protect him. In the room, and his father tells him to come in. Cheyenne enters and introduces himself. While he thinks that the last time he met this guy like this was 15 years ago, to Kala's verdict, who tells him to sit. People call him the protector of the continent. The one who, with his magical power and military strategies, stopped the demon's attack. Even if a whole army of the Demon King wanted to kill him, all he wanted was peace for this continent. But that's just how he was in Cheyenne's memories. Someone who dedicated his whole life to serving people and being an admirable man. The first thing Wallace says is that he noticed he saw the sword and dodged. Shin is confused, but Wallace says that when Krantz attacked him, he saw the trajectory of the sword easily and turned his side to avoid it, and asks when he learned this kind of fencing. Shin is impressed with how attentive he is and says he learned it on his own. Wallace says that as far as he knows, Cheyenne had no interest in fencing or he was hiding his skills. The explanation says he didn't want to stand out too much, while Wallace says it's amazing that he defeated CR even acting like that. But he stops and then asks why he hit his brother like that in the end. Cheyenne thinks, is he recognizing me as someone strong? And then says he wanted to prove something. Wallace asks what he wants to prove. Our hero says that you know he is a brother. He wanted to prove that he is better than CR. The father begins to laugh and says it's amazing to have such a direct and clear answer like that. He hopes that Cheyenne will one day become a strong ally of Eshel. The name Eshel scares our protagonist, who wonders why he would want to be an ally of that guy. In the end, his father's obsession with Eshel hasn't changed at all. He clenches his fists without saying anything. And Wallace says there's no reward ceremony, but he can ask for something. Shan's plan is very obvious. He wants to end everything that Eshel wants to do. So, he tells his father that he wants something special. The maid asks if he really wants to go to the front line of war. He says yes and is sure, but she wants to know if he's out of his mind. He has no idea how terrifying that place is. It's full of demons, monsters, and creatures. In the west of the old empire, there's a place known as the continent's front line, a battlefield where an endless war against the demon army has been going on for 100 years. Because of this reason, his father, who was hesitant at first, gave a condition. He would have to be qualified enough to go to that place. But Cheyenne didn't exactly know what he meant by that. But one thing is certain, he just has to get stronger and faster as soon as possible. Fortunately, he still has all the battle knowledge from before the regression, and he can feel a bit of demonic power within him. So, he just has to train, and eventually he'll be able to use it. Suddenly, the door opens and someone shouts his name. With a hand on his hip, he recognizes his big sister at least. Welcome. She grabs him by the collar, and the maid asks where she was while she's asking Cheyenne if he's crazy. She heard that he asked his father to go to the front line while Cheyenne is begging her to let him go. Ellis drops him to the ground and says he's getting too cocky for beating CR, and she yells in his face telling him to go to the roof now. Outside the castle, the two be on a bridge, and Ellis says it will start when he touches the sword. Then he just has to resist for 3 minutes, and she'll allow him to go to the front line. Shin wants to know if they really need to do that. Ellis ignores him and says she has a question. Is he planning to succeed in the family by any chance? Cheyenne is caught off guard, but he has no interest in that. Before he can answer, Ellis tells him to draw his sword. While Cheyenne thinks he barely regressed and is already having to fight twice. Without saying anything, Ellis goes for it because he touched the sword, which scares him without knowing why. He manages to defend her blow, and she's incredulous that he managed to block that. While Shin is scared that she's really going all out against a brother 7 years younger, she steps back with grace and beauty. While thinking it's impossible for him to have blocked her Wong's sword with that thin rapier, he's already gnashing his teeth, thinking it's luck. She says he's apparently better than she thought. Cheyenne realizes he's in trouble now, and she goes for it with a sequence of cuts that's hard for Shan to dodge. She jumps to prepare a vertical attack. Shan manages to defend the shoulder side. Her blade slips past his and ends up going straight for her neck. Ellis is startled, and Cheyenne realizes he did something stupid. He spins his arm, and they both step back. Standing on the pillar, he thinks it would have been dangerous. If he hadn't moved the sword, he would have killed her now. The assassination techniques he learned are all for instant death. He doesn't know how to fight without killing someone. But she wants to continue this for 3 minutes. It will be dangerous for her. Maybe he could put mana into the blade, but he's already running out of energy. Suddenly, Elise starts chanting, asking the earth and the wind to become her sword. Cheyenne recognizes immediately as a 6-star magic. Ellis's blade starts to glow with the activation of the water blade. Cheyenne is now crying. She really wants to kill me. This wasn't a test. Ellis keeps repeating to herself that she can't lose under any circumstances. On the corner of the wall, Shine's problem is that if he reflects her attack, either he'll end up killing her or throwing her off. If that's the case, he jumps towards her. She raises her sword, releasing a beam of light. Shan asks for something to stop hesitating and come out already. As Alice is preparing to deliver the blow, right before impact, a knight enters between them, saying, "Enough." He blocks Alice's attack with his sword and grabs Shan by the collar. The impact resonates throughout the castle, and the knight stares Alice down, saying she went too far against the young boy. Shan feels relieved. He had been waiting for this guy to show up, but he took too long. Seeing the blade, Alice seems to regain consciousness. She then rushes and hugs Shuren, apologizing, saying she lost control. She cries on his shoulder, saying all she didn't want was for him to go to the front line because she'll be very worried. Embraced by her, Cheyenne thinks she truly is Nanin, a person who studied in one of the S-grade schools and was one of the most highly qualified swordsmen. Moreover, she had a beautiful face and was recognized as the daughter of a god. Everyone thought she would be the next continent's protector alongside Eshel. However, not long after joining the Knights of Light, she got a miserable end. He hugs her, saying he missed her and that this time he will protect her. Elise asked the knight why he's here if he's the Duke's protector who left. The knight says he's here obeying the Duke's orders to protect the young master. Cheyenne thinks he sensed this guy's presence since he left the office. That's why he was angry he didn't show up. Passing out, he just doesn't understand why his father ordered to protect him in hiding. He then loses consciousness on Eliza's shoulder, who smiles, thinking he's still a child. The next day, she returned to the academy and he resumed training to prepare to meet his father. All he could do was push his body to the maximum to increase stamina. However, poor thing is fading. 10 push-ups is the maximum he can handle. Remembering his muscular version, he thinks he'll need drastic measures. Suddenly, Emily enters the room and says Elise sent something for him. However, she says it's too stinky and asks what it is. After Ellis attacked him, Shan asks for hellhound blood as a gift of apology. Because of the terrible smell and disgusting appearance, everyone thinks it's poison. But in fact, it has the power to permanently increase the stamina of whoever drinks it. Pinching her nose, Emily asks if he's really going to drink that, and he says yes. Taking a big gulp, he says he's the only one who can eat Emily's food, so this is fine. Already remembering the purple mushroom soup she made and how much worse it was, he smacks the pot on the table and says it was delicious, exuding an aura. Calling for Emily, who wants to know what happened, he looks back with red eyes and says he's going for a walk because he wants to see the effect of the medicine, and then leaves the castle. Standing aside, he says he's been wanting to come here for a long time. This was the place he came to when he wanted to be alone. Another day, a revelation from the god of light came to Eshel, his brother, about an ancient temple that was in that place, and Cheyenne was skeptical about it. Leaning against the ground, he says no one knows about the revelation yet. The ground cracks and a red mist starts to emerge. While Cheyenne says what he's about to do, Ashel would never imagine. Looking at the underground passage, Shen wonders if it's time to go. Walking inside, he says it's different from before. This place served the god of light until everything there was devastated. This happened during the Holy War 300 years ago. Cheyenne says a place like that is almost unbelievable. On the altar, he sees a shining sword and recognizes it as the owner of that temple. In the year 999, humans finally managed to drive out the demons from the empire of Veles. It was when they discovered artifacts called God's treasures. One of the artifacts was the sacred sword Drandark, which led humans to war against the demons, the same sword that Eshel used to kill him in that tragic end. Staring at the sword, he imagines it to be related to his regression. He touches it hesitantly, but then lowers his head, saying he knew nothing would happen. He then kicks it in disgust and leaves, saying this sword made him feel like trash. The shadows appear beneath the light, and Cheyenne says he found what he was looking for. Looking at the ground, he says anyone would think that's the shadow of the sword. However, that's not just a shadow there. He touches the ground, saying, "Wherever there's light, there's shadow." Stairs appear, leading to a door in the darkness. Shannon opens the door hesitantly, and when he looks at the altar, he finally found what he wanted, the demonic blade, Karam. He wields the dagger with an engraved crystal. Then he tells the blade it can wake up now. He continues cutting in all directions, already hesitant, seeing that it seems to be sleeping. But it's quite thrilling to cut with a blade he used his whole life, really tasty. Suddenly, a shadow starts emerging from the ground, saying he was a very brave child. She asks Cheyenne if he doesn't know the meaning of taking that dagger, and he says it means it's his now. The shadow keeps growing, saying she can't believe he really woke up a demonic blade. With a macabre smile, she says it's too late. She swoops towards him, shouting that his body now belongs to her, but Cheyenne grabs her by the neck, which confuses her. The face emerges from the shadows, and Cheyenne says he didn't have much to do at that time. The blade asks how he can touch her, and he replies, he already said, now she's his. With pink nails, she sends a slash. He manages to dodge. Stepping back, the blade takes advantage to get some distance. And boy, this is the strongest weapon I've ever seen. A protagonist have around is really a danger to society. She asks who he is. Seeing the shadow leaving her body, she wants to know if he's the heir, or at least she wants to know why he has the heir's energy, and he says, yes, he's the heir. Now that he's the master, it's good for her to stay quiet and bow her head. Kilometer is seething with anger, saying he's just a kid. She attacks him, saying she won't accept this. While defending himself, Cheyenne knows the blade's goal is to steal the user's body, so there won't be much to do. She's about to hit him when he wonders if he should go easy or not. With a smirk, he activates control of the demonic blade. Kum is thrown to the ground, not understanding what happened. Shin warns he'll only say this once. It's good for her to accept it while he's being nice. Suppressed, Karam wants to know how he's managing to use this ability. Shin activates control of the blade again, burying her head in the ground. Before she can say anything, he activates a few more times. Seeing her bare, he asks if she understands now, and she says she really recognizes him as the master now. He's about to use the power again when she calls him Lord. With that, Cheyenne completed the objective there and wonders if he should return before they miss him. Karam, in his hand, says she's eager to feel the fresh air outside and, curious about his name, she asks him. Upon hearing his name, the blade asks if he really was chosen as the heir. Cheyenne says yes, but it was in the past life. Karam is confused about this past life thing, and he says he died once. She's even more confused, thinking he's crazy. As he approaches the sword, she says it's sleeping, and our protagonist warns the owner will appear in 20 years. Karam wants to know how he knows that while he already pulled the blade. Without hesitation, he cuts the handle. She's curious about why that. Cheyenne says he has no idea anymore, and it will be an interesting future. In the morning, a carriage was leaving the very castle. The promised date Cheyenne had come very quickly. He introduces himself to his father, who says he wants to ask once more, is he really determined to go to the front line? Cheyenne says yes. His heart is already there. The father then tells the knight to release the beast. The knight takes a scroll, and Cheyenne wonders if he'll use a summoning spell. He opens a scroll glowing with a red pentagram. A creature with flaming back starts to emerge. Cheyenne recognizes it as a hellhound. Seeing the creature, he's sure his father and the knights prepared this test well for him. Everyone's hands are ready to draw the sword, and he realizes everyone is being cautious with his life. The father warns that everything comes with responsibility. He must prove his will by passing this test. Hearing the word test, the knight hesitates. He was confused when Shan asked to train against him. Our protagonist said he had 3 days until the test and needed to prepare as best as possible, and he asked the knight for help in practicing combat techniques. The knight said if he wanted to train, he should ask Xia or someone his age. Shan plays dumb, saying he doesn't know why, but Krantz messes him up every time he sees him. In a difficult situation, the soldier realizes he's the protagonist. He smiles when the knight says he'll grant this wish. However, he won't draw his sword, and all he'll do is defend himself. Cheyenne thanked him and asked for just one more thing. He wasn't to inform his father about anything that happened there, and that was an order. Yoken hesitated, not understanding why he said that, when suddenly, Cheyenne lunged towards him. Yoken managed to defend the first attack. However, he was disbelieving at the strength of a 10-year-old kid. He realized Cheyenne's movements were very fast, vanishing in front of him. Shan was already above him while he wondered where the kid went. He felt something and turned to block the attack. Shan kept striking relentlessly, and after a few attacks he gave up, saying unfortunately he still couldn't beat him. But he told Yulkin it was a great job and thanked him for the help. Almost exhausted, Yulkin said he did a great job too, while he couldn't believe that skinny kid was so strong. If what he felt that day is correct, the current master will be able to pass any test given to him. The hellhound faces Cheyenne and lunges for the attack. He seems calm seeing the creature coming to bite. A slash passes through the hellhound's eye, causing it to fall to the ground. Looking back, Cheyenne says with his current strength, he needs to finish this as quickly as possible. The hellhound gets up, and he knows he has to end it with this attack. He prepares, and suddenly the slash has already passed through the hellhound's head, completing the blow with a blade throw from the air. The present knights are all startled while his father smiles. Seeing the carcass on the ground, Cheyenne says it's a waste he let so much blood be lost. But he knows if he starts drinking that, the guys will think he's crazy, so it's better to leave it be. Wallace then comes to congratulate him, saying it was incredible. Since that's the case, they'll meet again on the front lines. Cheyenne thanks his father, while Hara is calling for him, asking if she's just a kitchen knife. Our boy says, no, she's a demonic blade. She then wonders why she's not being used. She can only regain her powers by consuming blood. Heading towards the hellhound, she's begging just for a lick. But Cheyenne tells her not to worry. He'll use her as much as she wants. The northern battlefield is invaded by ogres. The Belts and Wallace warns not to let any escape alive. The soldiers raise their swords, activating the Salvation Prison. A huge shining cross appears on the battlefield, and a magic circle appears at the feet of all the ogres. Ropes of light come out of the circles and bind them, and Wallace orders everyone to attack. With them immobilized, the soldiers seem to easily defeat them. One of the ogres screams as a soldier approaches. He grips the blade tightly, preparing for the attack, and with a single blow, he decapitates the monster. Nearby, Shan and Emily watch the battle, and she's terrified. She asks him why he brought her to a place like this. Cheyenne thinks strangely he missed this place. Wallace asks him what he thinks about being on the front lines, and he says he's kind of nervous. The father warns he can return anytime and that he could die in this place, so he better not let his guard down. Shannon smiles, saying he'll keep that in mind. On the front lines, death is common, and 3 or 4 battles happen every day. Strategically, the knights try to prevent the advance of the demonic lines, and the tent where Cheyenne is the farthest from everything and the safest. The problem is, now that he's being washed, he can't find a chance to feed Karen. While he wonders if he'll have to wait until night, he asks Emily what she's doing under the covers. She's desperate, saying Duke warned that they could die at any moment. Shannon tells her to pack up and leave then. However, she screams it's impossible, he can't be without her. It's full of demonic monsters here, who will take care of him if she flees. Suddenly, she leaves the tent, saying she'll get something to eat, while Shan wants to ask about the cloak he requested, but she just ignores him. He gets angry because this damn woman never obeys him. Sometime later, he placed a doll of himself in bed, thinking maybe that's enough. When Emily asks if he's really going to exercise in this place, she says he's very diligent, and if Duke finds out, he'll be proud. Shannon ignores her and says he's leaving, and she can sleep there peacefully. He looks back and warns to say he's sleeping if anyone asks anything. At this moment, they need as many soldiers on the front line as possible, so now he can move freely. He activates an ability that allows him to glide with the mists, and he advances to a dangerous area, where he finds a group of hellhounds. However, he's excited because there's the perfect place to test Karen, who, when summoned, smells blood and tells Cheyenne she can't take it anymore. She needs to cut through something. The hellhounds lead towards him, and Cheyenne tells her to feed as much as she wants. With that, he begins to kill the creatures, activating an ability called Furious Mist Storm. After finishing the hellhounds, he pulls the blood from their heads and drinks it. With a crazy look, he says that's what he wants, while Karen is excited. He tells her they'll keep hunting, and she says those creatures are too weak. But Cheyenne warns her not to worry, since the night is young and there's plenty of monsters. Cheyenne says she's excited. A carriage travels through a mountain, and inside it a girl with white hair is transported. Inside, the person warns that place is very dangerous and they should retreat, but the girl says not to treat her like a child. She's a princess of the empire, and it's her duty to assist the family. And if a woman says anything else, she'll take out her anger on her. The girl then warns that young Master Very is also on the front lines and is the same age as her. She asks if Duke had the courage to bring the youngest boy. The friend replies, "No, actually, it was the boy who volunteered. Since they are the same age, they can be friends." But the princess says she's not interested and she's going to sleep. Her friend replies, "Okay." But the princess now wants to know what the name is. The helper replies, "It's Cheyenne Chyanba." Under the moonlight, she ponders that name. Meanwhile, harpies are being cut down, and Wallace is giving orders to look after those who were injured. On the battlefield, dozens of harpies and griffins are dead, as they are ready to return to base. He looks to the side, and someone pulls a sword from atop a harpy. It was Shannon, who participated in that battle. Wallace asks if he's adjusting well to the front lines. Cheyenne says, yes, he's learning a lot every day. And his father warns that he thought you would want to go back home, but he's been here for a while now and he's very proud. These words leave Cheyenne incredulous, and his father leaves, saying there's something to talk about tomorrow morning. Sean agrees while thinking it's the first time he's seen his father with a proud expression. That same night, Sean went out to hunt once again. What he found was a death worm that normally hides deep in the valleys. Karam told him he looked very tired because he wouldn't let her take over the body, but Cheyenne said she was being too obvious. She insisted, saying the worm's flesh regenerated much faster than he could hit. Despite not wanting to accept it, he knew that was true. And has been in this place for over a month now, every day drinking the blood of countless demonic creatures. So why can't he do it yet? The worm attacks him once again, and he says there's no chance then. He warns he'll play by Cheyenne's rules for a while now, which she's now happy about, saying it's time to go crazy, activating the 9th assassination technique, the manifestation of the demonic blade. Numerous cuts appear around the worm while Cheyenne's face is black. He agonizes, and our hero says he'll cut it into pieces. Under the moonlight, he activates the ability 8 fluttering beetles, cutting through the worm with numerous slashes from top to bottom. The worm's mouth explodes, and our boy is demonic. Meanwhile, one of the knights touches the blood of a hellhound and says it hasn't been long since it died. It's Yulkin and Wallace examining the area, and they say it seems to be the work of the demonic tribe. However, looking at the body, the father says those cuts seem somewhat familiar. Maybe it's déjà vu. Yulkin appears from behind a rock and says he has to see something. Wallace asks what it is, when he raises the torch. They see the death worm cut in half, which scares Wallace. He says he can't believe that organization is behind this. The manifestation of the demonic blade hands over his body to Karen, who can now use her maximum power. But if he gets distracted, his mind will also be completely consumed. The next day, he wakes up saying he's crazy for using that power just to kill a simple demonic beast. He gets out of bed, saying he was lucky he drank so much blood, otherwise his body would have been destroyed. Saren says she understands. He looks like a 10-year-old boy, but doesn't speak or act like one. Not to mention, it's the first time he's used her, but he seems too familiar. He even knew all the geography of the valley and fought as if he mastered the mist technique for over 30 years. Cheyenne remembers he said he died once, and now she's sure he's a regressor, isn't he? Cheyenne says he had explained that very well already, and she just hadn't understood. The poor thing is baffled. She screams at him, saying how is she supposed to understand such a serious matter when he speaks so simply. Chattun says explaining is kind of boring. She says by watching the way he fights, it couldn't have been easy to defeat him.